Europe during the 18th century, an aesthetic argument arose that claimed that some art forms should be held in higher esteem than others. High art, primarily seen as painting and sculpture, addressed issues of beauty and meaning and was meant for contemplation. Art forms that had utility, such as pottery or metalwork, were seen as applied arts and ascribed a lesser value, often despite the level of technical skill and visual splendor. But these value judgments were based on Western chauvinism. Cultures like China and Japan saw aesthetic considerations as critical to all aspects of life, making few distinctions between art forms and utilitarian objects. African, Islamic, and pre-Columbian art often used abstract patterning and decorative elements to carry spiritual and symbolic meaning. Likewise, traditional European gender roles had mostly kept the creative endeavors of women confined to mediums that provided practical function. From the dawn of the early European modern period, the image of the artist as an individual genius whose work helped to elevate humanity was decidedly male. It will remain so until the later part of the 20th century. In the 1970s, minimalism was the dominant style in the art world. In the quest for a pure aesthetic experience, minimalist artists had done away with ornamentation or decoration and any trace of the artist's hand. The theories behind minimalism were intellectually rigorous and were informed by the modernist notion that art was moving culture forward. But some artists saw minimalism as a continuation of the Western, male-dominated approach to art. Artists who were at the forefront of feminist artistic practice like Miriam Shapiro, Joyce Kozloff, and Cynthia Carlson began using traditionally feminine materials, techniques, and imagery in their work. Other artists like Robert Kushner, Valerie Jordan, and Kim McConnell included Islamic and Southeast Asian motifs and patterns. Brought together for the first time in the 1976 exhibition titled 10 Approaches to the Decorative, artists who were using pattern and decoration reveled in a visual sensuality that minimalism denied. Although popular with the public, at the time the work of these artists received negative criticism from the male-dominated art establishment for this emphasis on the visual rather than the theoretical. Actually, these artists were on the forefront of challenging the discrimination in the very notion of high and low art forms. Published in 1978, Joyce Kozloff and Valerie Jordan's essay, Art, Hysterical Notions of Progress and Culture, laid out a very clear repudiation of the chauvinism inherent in the language used to define art in Western art history. In today's fickle art world, where eclectic taste and the quest for the sensational rule, artists rarely unite over a visual style or aesthetic theories. Some art critique says this revival of pattern and decoration by these artists, which came to be known as P&D, was in fact the last true art movement.